from the foot region, from the gametophyte to the capsule region. Sir? Now, hello.
Madam,
yes, any
madam, please proceed.
Continue, right, sir. So this is the capsule, the third region of the polytrichum, which is a very, very important part in this, because this is the region where the spores are going to be developed, and these spores, upon germination, it is helping in developing into a new plant. And this capsule, it is a very what we call it as a very interesting structure here, with very complicated, divided into three regions, which is called as epiphysis, theca, and the operculum. So when you observe here the structure, so this is the basal part of the capsule, what we call it as the epiphysis region, and the central, this is a complete central region, which we call it as the theca region, and the upper one, which is called as the lid or the operculum. Epiphysis, theca, and the operculum. So among these three, theca of the capsule plays a very important role in formation of the spores, because in this theca region only you can see the presence of two spore sacs. This is the one and this is another one. These two are considered as the spore sac, which will accommodate the spore mother cells. Okay, now these spore mother cells, upon reduction division, they are going to form the spore tetrad or the spores. Now, so we'll go one by one. So epiphysis, which is considered as the lowermost part of the capsule, it is in continuous with the seta region, helping in conducting the food material. So it is having, when you observe the structure, it is in the form of a swollen ring-like protuberance at the base, and it consists of thin-walled cells which are green and loosely arranged. So the cells are green enough, that is, they possess chloroplast and performing the photosynthesis. That means to say here, in the other plants, the sporophyte will be partially or completely dependent on the gametophyte. But here, this capsule is not completely dependent. As the epiphysis of the capsule, it can prepare the food material. So it is partially dependent, we can say. Now, when you talk about the theca region, so it is a middle part of the capsule, which is four-lobed. So you can see a 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a four-lobed structure with several layered. The outermost layer is called to be as the epidermal layer, and below this epidermal layer we can see the presence of air spaces which are elongated. So these air spaces are having filaments with a thin walled and elongated, and the outer spore sac wall is present, which is called as the spore sac wall, which is in connection with the trabecular spaces. So these trabecular, so you can see here, these are the trabeculae, we call it as. This is the outer epidermis, below that is a photosynthetic tissue, and this is a trabecular spaces or the trabecular chamber, where we consist of the filamentous cells called as trabeculae. They are giving support, they are attached to the spore sac, and they are acting like shock absorbers. So they are just protecting this internal spore sac region not to get damaged. So they're just acting like the shock absorbers of the capsule region. Now in the central part of the capsule or the theca, we call it as columnella. So this columnella is multicellular and long elongated structures which plays a role of conduction. On either side of the columnella, we can see the spore sac, which is filled with sporogenous cells, and these sporogenous cells on maturity, they undergo reduction division and forms the spores as spore tetrads. And the uppermost part of this capsule, we call it as operculum or the lid. which is a conical shaped structure, just acting like a lid of a jug. So at the time of this operculum here, because the covering layer of this operculum, we call it as calyptra. So this lid, it is attached to the theca region with the help of a rim or the diaphragm. Now below this diaphragm or below this lid on the ventral side of it, we can see the presence of peristomal teeth. So here you can see this is a rim through which this operculum layer is attached. Now below, this is the basal part of the region here. This forms the peristomal teeth. Now this peristomal teeth, they are helpful for the proper fixing of this operculum to the capsule region or to the theca region. And this peristomal teeth as well as the diaphragm, it plays a role of it plays a role of dispersal of these spores. When the capsule is matured, at that time, the diaphragm and this peristomal teeth, they'll become dry up. They won't absorb the water. They completely become dry up. So due to the drying of the tissues over here, they become very loose enough, and simply the spores are liberated out by the pushing of the lid outside. So they plays a role of dispersal. So these spores, so here we can see here, the cells of the epiphysis, they dry up during the dry season. That is, they won't absorb the water. They completely become dry, and it gets separated from the operculum, and the calyptra, it will fall. And as the calyptra will fall, the theca region, and except the spores, all other tissues or the cells, they will degenerated, and the spores, they lie free in the center. And upon maturity, these spores, they come out from this theca region, and they are dispersed into the surrounding environment by the wind. Now these spores, they are yellowish in color, uninucleate and bilayered. The outer layer, we call it as exine, and the inner layer is called as endosporium. This spore, they germinate under favorable conditions, and they develop into the juvenile stage, what we call it as protonema. So these protonema, it develops buds on them, the vegetative buds. These buds, upon detachment from the protonema, they may develop into individual moss plants. Okay, some of the buds, they may develop into, that is based upon the germination, what type of a protonema, it develops either into a male plant or a female plant. So this is a life cycle I am showing you here. So this is the two adult plants, which is, this one is a archegonial plant, that a female plant, and this is a male plant possessing the antheridial head. Archegonial head consists of this archegonia, and the antheridial head consists of the antheridium along with the paraphysis. Now upon maturity, antheridia will develop the anthrozoids, or they produce anthrozoids or the sperm, and archegonia having the venter consisting of the female gamete egg. Now fertilization will occur through the fusion of these anthrozoids with the egg cell and transforming into zygote. This zygote upon development develops into the sporophytic region, that is a sporophytic phase. Now this sporophyte here, upon maturity, they are going to release the spores. Some of these spores will develop into male protonema, and another spores will develop into female protonema. So the buds of them will develop, or they will germinate into the respective female plants, female as well as the adult plants. So here we come across alternation of generations. It shows heteromorphic alteration of generation, that is gametophyte alternating with the sporophyte. So both the gametophyte and sporophyte, they both differ morphologically as well as physiologically. Hence, we call it as heteromorphic alternation of generation. So this is here just diagrammatic representation of the life cycle of the polytribe. I'm just stop sharing here. So this is about the polytrichum, the last
Okay.
type study of the
Any doubts,
polytrichum.
my dear friends? Any doubts? In this class, Madam has explained wonderfully and elaborately, and nice presentation. Madam, really an excellent presentation. The entire important area you have covered in this class.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, madam. Tomorrow, same time, tomorrow is optional day, madam. Whether
Yes, sir. Yes,
please
sir. Tomorrow is a holiday.
better you have to inform me, but tomorrow we must take another class also. Please.